I'm going to be reading from the Department of the Army Field Manual FM 21-76 on survival, published in 1957. This is Chapter 4, Section 3 on animal foods. Varieties. Many people consider grasshoppers, hairless caterpillars, wood-boring beetle larvae and pupae, spider bodies, and termites as delicacies. You have probably eaten some of them unknowingly in your daily food. The time may come when you have no choice but to eat insects such as these. If so, you will find them much more palatable if you cook them until they are dry or disguise them in a stew. Foods derived from animals have much more food value per pound than those derived from plants, but are more difficult to obtain. A knowledge of edible animals, including where to look for them and how to catch them, increases your survival chances. Foods from fresh water. Freshwater lakes, ponds, streams, and rivers are abundant food reservoirs. Look for them wherever you are. They support more animal life in a smaller area than the land, and often the food they harbor is easier to acquire. You can count on finding such water animals as fish, frogs, snails, and crabs around or in most inland waters. Fish. Of the animal life around or in fresh water, fish are probably the most difficult to catch, so don't expect too much at one sitting. It may take hours or even days before you are successful. It can be done, though, even with crude equipment, if you are patient and know where, when, and how to fish. When to fish. It is difficult to state the best time to fish because different species feed at different times, both day and night. As a general rule, look for fish to feed just before dawn and just after dusk, just before a storm as the front is moving in, and at night when the moon is full or waning. Rising fish and jumping minnows may also be signs of feeding fish. Where to fish? The place you select to start fishing depends on the type of water available and the time of day. In fast-running streams in the heat of the day, try deep pools that lie below the riffles. Toward evening or in the early morning, float your bait over the riffle, aiming for submerged logs, undercut banks, and overhanging bushes. On lakes in the heat of the summer, fish deep, as fish seek the coolness of deeper water. In the evening or early morning in summer, fish the edges of the lake. Fish are more apt to feed in shallow water. Lake fishing in the spring and late fall is more productive on the edge in shallow water because fish are either bedding or seeking warmer water. With practice, you can locate the beds of some species of fish by their strong, distinctively quote-unquote fishy odor. Bait. As a general rule, fish bite bait taken from their native water. Look in the water near the shores for crabs, fish eggs, and minnows, and on the banks for worms and insects. If you hook a fish, inspect its stomach to see what it has been eating, and then try to duplicate this food. Use its intestines and eyes for bait if other sources are unproductive. If you use worms, cover the hook completely. With minnows, pass the hook through the body of the fish under its backbone in the rear of the dorsal fin. Be sure you do not sever the minnow's backbone. You can make artificial bait from pieces of brightly colored cloth, feathers, or bits of bright metal fashioned to duplicate insects, worms, and minnows. Strive to make your artificial bait look natural by moving it slowly or copying the actions of natural fish food. Making hooks and line. If you have no hooks, improvise them out of insignia, pins, bone, or hardwood. By twisting bark or cloth fibers, you can fashion a sturdy line. Using the inner bark of a tree, knot the ends of two strands and secure them to a solid base. Hold a strand in each hand and twist clockwise, crossing one above the other counterclockwise. Add fiber as necessary to increase the length of the line. If you have parachute shroud lines available, use these for your line. Catching fish. There will be times when the most elaborate line and suitable bait will not yield a single fish. Do not become discouraged because there are other methods that may prove more productive. Set lines. Set lines provide a practical method for catching fish if you happen to be quote-unquote holed up for a period of time near a lake or stream, awaiting an opportunity to continue your trip safely. Simply tie several hooks onto your line. Bait them and fasten the line to a low-hanging branch that will bend when a fish is hooked. Keep this line in the water as long as you are in the area, checking it periodically to remove fish and rebait the hooks. An excellent hook for a set line is the gorge or skewer hook. Sink the skewer into a chunk of bait. After the fish swallows the bait, the skewer swings crosswise and lodges in the stomach, securing the fish to the line. Jigging. This method requires an 8 to 10 foot limber cane or similar type pole, a hook, a piece of brilliant metal shaped like a commercial fishing spoon, a 2 to 3 inch strip of white meat or pork rind or fish intestine, and a piece of line about 10 inches long. Attach the hook just below the spoon on the end of the short line and tie the line to the end of the pole. Working close to the edge near lily pads or weed beds, dabble the hook and spoon apparatus just below the surface of the water. Occasionally slap the water with the tip of the pole to attract large fish to your bait. This method is especially effective at night. Using your hand. This method is effective in small streams with undercut banks or in shallow ponds left by receding floodwaters. Place your hands in the water and allow them to reach water temperature. Reach under the bank slowly, keeping your hands close to the bottom if possible. Move your fingers slightly until you contact a fish. Then work your hand gently along its belly until you reach its gills. Grasp the fish firmly just behind the gills. Muddying. Small isolated pools caused by the receding waters of flooded streams are often abundant in fish. Disturb the mud of the bottoms of these puddles by stamping in them or using a stick until the fish are forced to seek clearer water at the surface. Then throw them out with your hands or club them. Spearing. This method is difficult except when the stream is small and the fish are large and numerous during spawning season or when the fish congregate in pools. Tie your bayonet on the end of a pole. Sharpen a piece of bamboo. Lash 2 long thorns on a stick, or fashion a bone spear point and position yourself on a rock over a fish run. Wait patiently and quietly for a fish to swim by. Select only the large fish. Nets. The edges and tributaries of lakes and streams are usually abundant with fish too small to hook or spear, but large enough to net. Select a forked sapling and make a circular frame. Stitch or tie your undershirt or tie the cloth-like material found at the base of coconut trees to this frame, making sure the bottom is closed. Scoop upstream around rocks or in pools with this improvised net. Traps or weir. These are useful for catching both fresh and saltwater fish, especially those that move in schools. In lakes or large streams, fish approach the banks and shallows in the morning and evening. Sea fish traveling in large schools regularly approach the shore with the incoming tide, often moving parallel to the shore and guiding on obstructions in the water. A fish trap is an enclosure with a blind opening where two fence-like walls extend out like a funnel from the entrance. The time and effort you put into building a trap depends upon your need for food and the length of time you plan to stay in one spot. If you are near the sea, pick your trap location at high tide and build it at low tide. On rocky shores, use natural rock pools. On coral islands, use natural pools on the surface of reefs by blocking the openings as the tide recedes. On sandy shores, use sandbars and the ditches they enclose. Fish in the lee of offshore sandbars. Build your trap as a low stone wall, extending out into the water and forming an angle with the shore. In small, shallow streams, make your fish trap with stakes or brush set into the stream bottom so that the stream is blocked, except for a small, narrow opening into a stone or brush pen. Wade in and herd the fish into your trap. Catch or club them when they get into shallow water. Shooting. If you are fortunate and have a weapon and sufficient ammunition, try shooting fish. Aim slightly under the fish in water that is less than 3 feet deep. A hand grenade exploded in a school of fish will supply you with food for days. Dry or otherwise preserve those that you do not eat fresh. Poisoning. Throughout the warm regions of the world, there are various plants and other materials which natives use for poisoning fish. The active poison in these is harmful only to cold-blooded animals. Fish poisons include the Daris plant. This woody vine grows in Southeast Asia. Powder the roots and throw them into the stream at its headwaters if possible. In a short time, the stunned fish will rise to the surface. The Barringtonia tree. This tree is found near the seashore in Malaya and parts of Polynesia. Crush the seeds and throw them into the stream or pond. Coral and seashells. Lime will kill fish. Burn coral and seashells together to obtain this fish poison. Ice fishing. You can obtain fish in the winter by fishing through a hole in the ice. Keep the hole open by covering it with brush and heaping loose snow over the cover. Fish tend to gather in deep pools, so cut your ice holes over the deepest part of the lake. Place a rig similar to the one in Figure 119 at several holes. When the flag moves to an upright position, remove the fish and rebait the rig. Take a 3-foot pole and a string long enough to reach the bottom of the place where you fish. Make a small spoon-shaped spinner from a sea ration can or from any piece of bright metal. Attach an improvised fish hook to the line and tie the improvised spinner to the line just above the hook. When fishing, move the rod in an up and down motion in such a way that the bright metal object vibrates. Fish close to the place where the shelf near the shore drops off to lake bottom, at the edge of the reeds or close to some projecting rock formation. You might be able to see fish swimming beneath the clear ice. Strike the ice sharply with a rock or log above the fish. This will stun them long enough for you to cut a hole and remove the fish. Frogs, newts, and salamanders. These small amphibian animals inhabit areas surrounding fresh water in warm and temperate climates throughout the world. Hunt frogs at night when you can locate them by their croaking. Club them or snag the larger ones on a hook and line. Eat the entire body after skinning. Newts and salamanders are found under rotten logs or under rocks in areas where frogs are abundant. Mollusks. These include fresh and saltwater invertebrates such as snails, clams, mussels, bivalves, periwinkles, chitons, and sea urchins. See Chapter 6 for a discussion of mollusks. Most members of this group are edible. However, be sure that you have a fresh mollusk and that you boil it. If you eat one raw, you are inviting parasites into your body. In fresh water, look for these foods in the shallows, especially in water with a sandy or mud bottom. Near the sea, wait for low tide and check in tidal pools or in the sand. Crustaceans. Fresh and saltwater crabs, crayfish, lobsters, shrimps, and prawns are included in this class. Most of them are edible, but they spoil rapidly and some harbor harmful parasites. Look for them in moss beds under rocks or net them from tidal pools. Freshwater shrimp are abundant in tropical streams, especially where the water is sluggish. Here they cling to branches or vegetation. Cook the freshwater forms. Eat the saltwater varieties raw if you desire. Reptiles. Do not discount snakes, lizards, alligators, and turtles as possible food sources. See Chapter 7. Freshwater snakes, both poisonous and non-poisonous, frequent lakes and streams where the water is sluggish and the banks are covered with driftwood and overhanging branches. Although snakes are edible, use extreme caution when you search for them, especially in areas having poisonous varieties. Lizards are inhabitants of the tropics and subtropics. Included in this group are the two poisonous lizards mentioned in Chapter 7 and alligators. All are edible. Remove the sealy skin and then boil or fry them. Heat alligators over a fire before skinning to loosen the plates. Marine freshwater and land turtles are edible, Chapter 6, and are found on land or in waters of the temperate and tropical zones. Club the smaller freshwater turtles or catch them on a line. Be careful with the larger snapping ones because they can inflict a serious bite. Insects, grubs, grasshoppers, termites, and most other insects have food value and are palatable if prepared properly. Use them to provide stock for soup or to add protein to stews. Be sure to cook grasshoppers to kill parasites contained in their bodies. Birds and mammals. General. All mammals and birds are edible, but are probably the most difficult to obtain of all survival food. Consequently, concentrate on the sources mentioned above while considering methods of catching bigger game. Hunting animals and birds is not an easy job for even the most experienced woodsman. Therefore, as a beginner, quote-unquote, still hunt. Find a place where animals pass, a trail, watering place, or feeding ground. Hide nearby, always downwind, so the animal can't smell you, and wait for game to come to within range of your weapon or to walk into your trap. Remain absolutely motionless. If you decide to stalk an animal, do so upwind, moving slowly and noiselessly, only when he is feeding or looking the other way. Freeze when he looks your way. Hunt in the early morning or at dusk and look for animal signs such as tracks, a game run, trampled underbrush, and droppings. Remember, animals depend upon their keen sense of sight, hearing, and smell to warn them of danger. Birds can see and hear exceptionally well, but are lacking in their sense of smell. During nesting periods, they are less fearful of man. Because of this, you can catch them easier in the spring and summer, especially in temperate and Arctic areas. They nest in cliffs, branches, marshes, or trees, and by watching the older birds, you can locate the young or eggs. Hunting. Finding game. The secret to hunting successfully is seeing your quarry before he sees you, so keep alert. Watch for signs that tell of the presence of game. As you approach a ridge, lake, or clearing, slow down and peer first at distant, then closer ground. At water holes that show signs of game, hide and wait until an animal approaches, even though it takes hours. In general, apply the military principles of movement and concealment that you have learned. Shooting game. If you have a weapon and see a chance to use it, whistle sharply to encourage your quarry to stop, giving you a chance for a standing shot. On large game, aim for a neck, lung, or head shot. In the event you wound an animal and it runs, follow its blood trail slowly but deliberately. If the quarry is wounded severely, it will lie down soon if not followed. And when it lies down, it will usually weaken and be unable to rise. Approach it slowly and finish it off. After killing a large animal such as deer, gut and bleed it immediately. Cut the musk glands from between its hind legs and at the joints of its hind legs. Be careful not to burst the bladder while removing it. Trapping. Know your game. Before you can trap with any luck, you must decide what you wish to trap, what the animal will do, and then catch him doing it. Determine the kind of food he eats and bait your trap accordingly. Rats, mice, rabbits, and squirrels are easy to trap. These small mammals have regular habits and confine themselves to limited areas of activity. Simply locate a hole or run and bait and set your trap. Trapping hints. Following are some tricks that may increase your quote-unquote take if you decide to trap game or birds. To catch a mammal that lives in hollow trees, try inserting a short forked stick in the hole and twisting so that his loose skin will wrap around the fork. Keep the stick taut while pulling it out. Smoke burrow-living animals out of their dens. Then, using a noose attached to the end of a long pole, snare the quarry as it emerges from the hole. Use the noose method to snare birds that are sitting on eggs or roosting. After finding a roosting or nesting area, conceal yourself and wait quietly for the bird to return. Slip the noose quickly over the bird's head and pull to the rear and upward. Bait a fish hook with a minnow and place it on the shore near the water. Chances are a bird will snatch it. Set snares or traps at night in runways containing fresh tracks or droppings. If you have used a spot for butchering an animal, set a snare in the area. Use animal entrails for bait. If you are still without food after experimenting with these methods, set the woods or grassland on fire and wait for the game to break through. Do not use this method except as a last resort. Hanging snare. Fasten a slip noose to the end of a bent sapling. Open the noose wide enough to fit over the animal's head, but not wide enough for its body to slip through. Secure the trigger so that it holds the sapling as shown in Figure 126. Make it sufficiently loose so that a slight jerk on the noose will free the trigger. Simple drag noose. This simple snare is basic to successful survival. It is effective for catching small game and birds. Fixed snare. This snare is particularly useful for catching rabbits. Fasten the loop to a log, tree, or forked stake and set it near a bush or limb as shown in figure 127. After the trap is sprung, the animal will strangle itself. Treadle spring snare. This is effective for small mammals and birds. Cover the treadle with leaves or grass. Spring and spear trap. You can trap jungle mammals using a bamboo spring and spear snare. As the quarry strikes the cord or wire that is secured to the trigger mechanism, the trigger is released and the spear is driven by force of the bamboo spring. Deadfall. You can catch medium to large animals in deadfalls. However, use this method only where bigger game exists in sufficient quantities to justify the time and effort required to construct the snare. Build your deadfall close to or across a game trail, beside a stream, or on a ridge. Be sure the fall log slides smoothly between the upright guideposts and that you place the bait far enough from the bottom log to ensure time for the log to fall before the animal can withdraw its head. You can build a simple deadfall as shown in figure 131. Use a rock or heavy log and tilt it at a steep angle on a figure 4 trigger. Tie the bait on the trigger. When the game disturbs the bait, the weight will fall.